What's up, everybody? I'm Chef Matty B, and today we're here at TA Appliances and Barbecues in Kitchener. Christmas has just passed and New Year's is coming up, which means the holidays are in full swing, and it's time to make a holiday classic of beef and broccoli. Maybe it's not as traditional as turkey, but it's one of my personal favorites, and it involves so many different uses of a steam oven that I really just had to do this one up. For this recipe, we're gonna be able to use that steam oven to cook our rice, and it's gonna be awesome. And we can also use it to cook our broccoli instead of doing it inside of the sauce. That way we know that we're gonna have perfectly cooked broccoli, and we don't have to worry about any parts of the broccoli getting overcooked or waterlogged from cooking in that sauce, because the steam oven on like 50% steam with convection is gonna do almost like a half roast and half steam on that broccoli. But to start off, we need to get our beef sliced, and then we're gonna do a process called velveting, where we're gonna let it sit with some baking soda, and that's gonna help break down some of that connective tissue and give you an even more tender beef. So let's jump into that. So for the beef, I just bought one of these outside round roasts, and to velvet it, you just need to slice it nice and thin. You're just looking for about a 1/4 inch at most thick. And now that our beef is sliced up, I'm just gonna put it in a bowl and toss it in a bit of baking soda. And what that's gonna do is gonna break down the connective tissue in between those muscle fibers, and it's just gonna make it even more tender. It's a really classic technique that's used in a lot of Chinese takeout food because all of their meats are gonna be cooked really well done from stir frying. And this just makes sure that as the beef gets cooked more and more, it doesn't also get tougher, and it stays nice and tender even when it's being super cooked. And it doesn't take much baking soda, just a little sprinkle. And then I like to mix it up. You can also do this mixed in with a little bit of water just to help more evenly disperse the baking soda. But then I find that water makes it harder to get a nice sear on the beef. So I like doing the dry marinade instead. And now the important part with this is that you let the baking soda sit on the beef for about 15 to 20 minutes so that it can do its magic, which means I'm gonna put this bowl of beef into the fridge, and then we can start working on the rice. So for cooking the rice, we're gonna need to set our oven to 100% steam at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're gonna get that preheating so we can get a lot of steam built up before we put our rice in there, so it takes a bit less time to cook. And then for the rice itself, we're gonna use this pan that's actually included with the steam oven, so it's a perfect fit. And when you're using a steam oven to cook rice, you need less water than you would if you're using a pot to boil your rice. So the ratio is actually gonna just be 1 to 1.5. So we're gonna use 1 cup of basmati rice and 1.5 cups of water. And now that our steam oven's up to temp, we can get our rice thrown in there. While our rice is cooking, we can continue getting everything else that we're gonna need for this stir fry ready. So we can get our broccoli trimmed up, as well as our garlic peeled and sliced, and our ginger peeled and minced up nice and fine. And then to cook the broccoli, we can use this perforated pan that actually also comes with the oven. And we can just load our broccoli up in there. And those perforations are gonna allow the steam to come at both the bottom of the broccoli and the top, giving it a complete steam and without running the risk of overcooking the top layer. And I'm gonna use 2 cloves of garlic for this recipe because I like a little extra garlic in my beef and broccoli. So we can get it peeled and sliced. And then for the garlic, when I'm doing stir fry, I actually prefer it sliced as opposed to minced. So I just like doing really nice thin slices. I find that it holds up a little bit better to getting cooked. Whereas with minced, you run the risk of burning some of that garlic, and that can impart a bitter flavor that isn't that good. And then for the ginger, I just have a little piece here. I'm gonna trim off the 2 ends and then get it peeled. And the easy way of peeling ginger is just by using a spoon. And you just rub it against the skin, and it just comes off nice and simple. You don't have to use like a peeler or a knife for this. Just a spoon works perfect. And unlike the garlic, for ginger, I do actually like to mince it. So I'm just gonna give it a quick chop, and then I can take those sheets and cross cut it into sticks. And then finally, we can take the sticks, rotate them, and give them another cross cut, just to give us a nice finely minced ginger here. And I'm just gonna keep the garlic and ginger on the cutting board, close to my frying pan, so it's on hand when I'm ready to cook with it. And with that, our timer's done, which means that our rice is also done cooking. And that actually looks like it worked out perfectly. There's no extra water at the bottom and the rice looks nice and fluffy. That looks great. So next up, we're gonna be doing cook by function, and this time we're gonna do convection plus steam. We're gonna opt for medium steam because we want about 50% with the true arrow, and we're gonna set that to 375 for the broccoli. While we're waiting for our oven to preheat for that broccoli, we can start getting our beef cooked off, but we also need to get that sauce prepared for it as well. This sauce is gonna be super simple. The base of the sauce is gonna be soy sauce. I prefer using the low sodium soy sauce just because there is gonna be so much of it, and it's easy enough to add a little bit of salt at the end if we need it. So we're gonna start with a good amount of soy sauce into a bowl. And then to that, we're gonna add a little bit of rice wine vinegar. And a lot of that vinegar flavor is gonna get cooked out in the sauce. It's just gonna add a slight bit of acidity, which is gonna help balance out some of the saltiness from the soy sauce. And then one of the most important ingredients is gochujang. And this is a fermented chili pepper paste that just adds a really nice spice to the dish. And then to help thicken this sauce, we're gonna add a spoonful of cornstarch. And that's gonna help the sauce stick to the beef and the broccoli a little bit better. And with that, our sauce is ready, so we can start cooking off that beef. So when you're doing stir fry, you wanna make sure your pan's really, really hot. So we're gonna start out with an empty pan, and I'm gonna be setting it to power boost. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil once it starts getting warm, and once the oil starts to smoke slightly, that's when I'm gonna be adding my beef. Heat's your friend when it comes to stir fry. So now that you can see the oil starting to smoke, this is when we're gonna get our beef added in, and I'm also just gonna lower my heat down to a 9 because we don't need it on that power boost the whole time. And at this point, I'm gonna make a little opening in the middle of my beef, and that's where I'm gonna put in my ginger and my garlic that we cut up earlier. And we can let that cook out a little bit before mixing it all together. And now we can add our sauce. And you can see right now the sauce is really cloudy. That's from the cornstarch, but as it cooks out, it's gonna go more translucent. So once all that cloudiness is gone, you know that the sauce is cooked out and you reduce the heat. And now I'm just gonna leave that on really low so that it stays warm while we get our broccoli cooked. Now we can put our broccoli into the oven, and we're gonna let that cook for about 6 to 8 minutes. And now our broccoli should be all done here. And you can see, because we used a combination of steam and convection, our broccoli got a little bit of color to it, but also that steam helped it get nice and tender all the way through. So we can mix that into our beef, and then we're ready to dig in. So now we can just add our broccoli in and give it a stir up to make sure that broccoli gets all covered up in that sauce. And since the broccoli already got cooked in the steam oven, we don't even have to worry about cooking that anymore. We're just ready to eat right away. So we're gonna start out with putting down a nice scoop of our rice here. And I like putting the rice off center. That way I can have a little bit of rice plain, a little bit of beef and broccoli plain, and then have some overlap where I can mix it all together. And then put a nice spoonful of that beef and broccoli on the other side, just slightly overlapping that rice. And then I like to garnish it with a little bit of sesame seeds. Well, this looks fantastic, but it's time to give it a try and see how it tastes. That is really, really good. The broccoli is nice and tender, but not mushy at all. That steam convect did a fantastic job of cooking that broccoli. And velveting the beef just takes that beef to the next level, keeping it nice and tender, even though it's being cooked for so long. That's delicious, and definitely one that you need to make for the holiday season. So if you want to learn more about Fisher and Paykel's appliances, or all the different great things that you can do with the steam oven, then come on down and check us out at TA Appliances and Barbecues. If you're enjoying these types of videos, then make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and leave in the comments section below if you got any recipes that you want to see me try on this channel. But that's all I have for now, so we'll see you guys next time.